Okay, we're going to start off by going through solving quadratic equations using factoring. Just a quick recall of information. What we are doing is we're getting a quadratic and seeing where it intersects. For example, this quadratic equation right here, we're seeing where it equals 0. Simply put, it happens at there and there. Also, we looked at it in a table, set equal to 0, left side on one side, right side on the other, and my solutions were -2 and 1. Same -2 and 1 there. Okay. So sometimes you're going to have to do this without a calculator, without a table. You're going to have to use factoring, or it's one of the possible ways you can do this is using factoring. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the equation equal to 0. This equation is not equal to 0. This equation is equal to 6. I have to get rid of that 6 and make that 6 0. To make that 6 0, I have to subtract 6 over here, and I'm also going to subtract 6 from the other side. When I rewrite this, I'm going to list all my terms, biggest exponent first, 2, 1, and 0. My -6 does not have any like terms, so I'm just going to put -6. And when I subtract 6 and -6, that's my 0. I must set these equal to 0. This doesn't work unless you set it equal to 0 at first. Okay, so that is step number 1. We are done with step number 1. We set it equal to 0. This would be very good to copy down and have with you. Step number 2. We want to identify the GCF if there is one. There may or may not be one. This one, I look at the numbers, 3, 3, 6. It should be fairly obvious to us at this point that 3, 3, and 6 have a 3 in common. 3 times what gets us 3x squared? That's just x squared. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. Here I just need an x. 3 times x is 3x. -6. How do I get -6? I'm going to subtract 2. 3 times -2 is 6. And hey, look, it's still equal to 0. We just brought it down. That is actually step 2 and 3 done for us. Now we need to factor out the polynomial. So we're going to take a little detour. I'm actually going to do it right over here. We're going to take our polynomial in the parentheses, and we're going to say this is x squared plus x minus 2. And we are going to do the box method for that polynomial. If you have missed any of the polynomial factoring days, the quadratic factoring days, this is a review of everything we did during those days. We took the GCF out, and then we used the box to factor what's left. X squared goes here. That's my first term, first box. Last term, last box. Then we have to figure out what my middle terms are here, my peanut terms. To do the peanut terms, what I like to do is take my number down here and my number up here, my coefficient for this term and my constant, multiply them. -2 times 1 is, -2. I'm going to take that -2 and I'm going to factor -2. I always start with 1. 1 times -2. 2 times -1. These don't actually repeat because that's a positive 1, that's a -1. So it's negative. I usually try to list all of them out if possible. With my -2 factored, I look and see what my b value is. My b value in this case is 1. So I want to add all these up until I get a positive 1. 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1. 2 plus negative 1 is my positive 1. So these are the factors we're going to use. This is my 2x, and then I have a negative 1x. Once I have it completely factored like that, I am going to take the GCF in this first column. Only thing they have in common is an x, and then I look and see what's going to happen. What I need to multiply here. I need to multiply this by an x. This needs to be a 2. 2 times x is 2x. And then on this side, I have x times negative 1 will get me that. And then to check it, negative 1 times negative 2 should be negative 1 times 2 should be negative 2. There's my negative 2. I'm good. That means when I come over here, I keep my 3. My first parentheses is going to have x plus 2. My second set of parentheses is going to have x minus 1. And that is still equal to 0. That is where we factor the polynomial. So these are my factors. I have 3 factors in this case. I am now going to use the zero product rule to solve. That's a fancy way of saying set all of your factors equal to 0. I'm going to ignore the 3. The 3 cannot ever equal 0. It is 3. But what I can do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split all these up. There's typically going to be 2. I'm going to take this factor out, x plus 2, and set that equal to 0. Then I'm going to take the x minus 1, set that equal to 0. Very similar to when we split and solved absolute value equations in some quadratics. Now what we're going to do is we're going to solve these. This is the solve part. That's the zero product rule. One of these has to be 0 to make this 0. Now when I solve this, minus 2, x equals negative 2. And over here we add 1, x equals 1. Those are my solutions. My solutions are x equals negative 2 and x equals 1. Let me quickly review the steps for you. Take our equation, set it equal to 0. We do that by adding or subtracting out this number. Another thing you can do, which is what I like to do, is I take this number and move it over. When I move it over the equal sign, I simply change the sign. This positive 6 becomes a negative 6. A little bit less math as long as you understand what's going on. Identify the GCF if there is one. If there's not one, you ignore this part. There's the 3. 3 goes into all of these. Then this my fact. I divide it out. And I factor using the box. Here's the box. I ignore the 3 for now. And for actually the rest of this. But when I ask for factor form, you need the 3 still. Factor it with the box. And then I take each of my factors, my binomials, with the x's and set them equal to 0. Solve each of those, and those are my solutions. X equals negative 2 and x equals 1.